Welcome to Shooting Straight with Brad and David. I'm Brad Carlyon, your Navajo County attorney, and unfortunately Sheriff David Klaus can't join us this month, but instead he sent...
I'm Brian Swanty. I'm the Chief Deputy for the Navajo County Sheriff's Office.
And our guest for this month is Becky Shumway with the Navajo County Safe House. Thanks for joining us, Becky.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And what exactly is the Safe House?
So the Safe House, we have the White Mountain Safe House, which is a domestic violence shelter. We take anybody that's in a domestic violence situation. It can be men, it can be women. They can bring their families with them if they need to come in. Elderly abuse, any type of abusive situation, and also any type of like sexual assault victims that would come in that maybe need a safe place to stay as well.
How long can they stay with you?
Our program, we start them off at 30 days if they're working on goals and if they're trying to find a job, maybe looking for housing, attending meetings and doing groups and that kind of stuff in the house. Then they can extend out up to 90 days.
For the last year plus, we've been dealing with COVID. Has that impacted what you're able to do and how many people you can take in?
It's had a huge impact on us. We are probably running about half of what we normally do. One of the reasons that we've been given is sometimes living in the fear of an abusive situation is better than living with the fear of possibly getting sick or something like that. And we've had to quarantine within the house, myself and one of our employees and a resident that got exposed. We all stayed in the house for, I want to say 5 days until her test came back negative so that we could make sure that we didn't infect our families and also keep the rest of the staff safe so we have people there.
So October is kind of classified as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What that means?
So with us, we just want to make it known that it is happening, and it's tough in these smaller communities because there's a lot of people that don't think it happens here. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, as you're aware, that it does. You get to see it, and
nightly.
Yeah, and we get to see it quite a bit, and so we just want to make the community aware, and the Family Advocacy Center is doing a Light the Town Purple, and so we encourage along with that to light up your houses purple so that people know that you're not in support of domestic violence, but that you're aware.
In fact, I think today they are changing all the light bulbs at the sheriff's office in Holbrook to all purple lighting for this month.
You know, unfortunately, I've been doing prosecution for nearly 30 years, so I've seen a lot of it over the time, and Brian's been involved in law enforcement for a long time. One of the things that always surprised me is that so many of the victims of domestic violence really don't realize they're being victimized.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's a slow process. When they start getting victimized, if I went on a first date and that person hit me on the first date, I would not go on a second date.
But they have,
Brian. I'd call Brian and be like, "Hey, buddy." But what ends up happening is there's a cycle of they call it love bombing and texting and, hey, I can't live without you, where are you? And then slowly that stuff backs out and it's replaced by victim blaming and I didn't say that, you're being too sensitive. And so the victim starts believing that they're the problem.
And a lot of people in the community think of domestic violence as just the physical aspect, being hit. But most of it is truly psychological, isn't it?
Right. Most of it is psychological. It takes the average person in a domestic violence situation 7 times of leaving before they leave for good.
Wow, that's an interesting statistic. Yeah. I had never heard that.
Yeah.
So what should somebody be looking for if they're trying to evaluate themselves and if they're in a domestic violence situation? Are there certain clues or other things that they should evaluate and look at?
Are you being blamed for things do you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells? Are you being put down when you're leaving the house and you happen to, get out of your sweatpants before you go to the grocery store? Are you being accused of cheating? Are you, can you do anything right? Like, that's a big thing.
And a lot of controlling behavior too, like they don't have access to money or cut off from their old friends and
Phones,
even family.
Social isolation as well as physical isolation. We get a lot of families that move from other areas and they get moved out and in the middle of nowhere, and they're just out there by themselves and
kind of feel captive.
Yeah, and there's social isolation where they take away all their social media. That you can't have your phone, or they'll give it to them, but they'll sit and watch them while they're making the phone call or whatever. So
somebody realizes that they're in this domestic violence situation and it's having a toll on them, and they realize they need to get out. But if they're being controlled and dominated, how can they initiate that process?
Sometimes it's hard because they can't get to a phone, but they could show up at our thrift store. We have a safe place there, and they could stay there until you can go to any of our Change Point offices and report that you're in crisis and that you need domestic violence assistance. You can go to Summit Hospital and report. You can also go to a grocery store and talk to one of the cash registers, or the cashiers, and just say, hey, I'm in a situation and I need your help, and they should be able to take you to a back room or something and give a call we have a crisis center that through Change Point that all of our calls go to, and then they meet with.
So you've worked with the grocery stores then and partnered with them?
We have found that like Circle K's and stuff, Circle K's already have their own program that they do. I haven't talked to them specifically, but we have received phone calls from at least 3 of them in the area.
Oh, that's nice to know. I never realized that.
Yeah. So just finding a safe place to go and just talking to somebody should usually get you the help that you need. But we've had several phone calls from the convenience stores because they're 24/7. But
and you talked about oftentimes it takes 7 or more times before they really make that change. And I know from my prosecution career that part of that is that monetary control. I'll have a case, and then they may have gone to you or somebody else, and they realize, I don't have a job. He was the sole breadwinner. He owned the house. I have no idea where even my birth certificate or anything else is. How can you help those people to get past all those controls in place to keep them tethered to the perpetrator? Yeah,
we try really hard to help them. Like when they first come into crisis, they do an immediate like an emergency safety plan in case they come in and then they change their mind really fast and they want to go back because they, maybe I didn't make the right decision. And then if they come to shelter, we do a more extensive safety plan with them to prepare them, because a lot of them do go back. And so we'll do a preparation. Okay, this abuse is going to continue. It will. And when you make that decision again, this time, get a go bag. Make copies of your bank statements, make copies of your driver's license, of all of that stuff. Have a go bag, hide it in your car someplace, make sure you have an extra set of keys to your car, because that's the first thing that they find is their phone and their car keys. They're like, you can't go anywhere. So go make an extra set of keys. Maybe have a backup phone if you can make that happen. But we kind of set them up a little more extensive with safety planning, looking for triggers. Is there something that triggers him or her? Is there something that that maybe you recognize, or is it something the kids do or whatever? And that doesn't make it your fault at all. But if you notice those things, then you can kind of change your behaviors a little bit to maybe not set them off at the time or whatever.
So in domestic violence, there's certain things that have to happen in order for there to be a crime for law enforcement to get involved. And so what I'm taking from this is there's options for people to get that help, to get that support long before it becomes maybe a law enforcement issue or a criminal act is taken. They don't have to be assaulted before it's actually a domestic violence, and they can seek help through your organization, through the Safe House.
And it can be emotional, it can be financial, it can be, like we said, elderly abuse is big. We have quite a bit of that goes on up here. And just just the coercion and you're doing things that you don't want to be doing. We've had some people that have been involved in drugs. We've had some people that have been involved in like sex trafficking. And they didn't think they were being abused. Well, he was forcing me to do this and go buy his drugs or do this for him. I'm like, that's abuse. That's still abuse.
Yeah.
So,
are you seeing sex trafficking in the area?
Yes, we are seeing it in the area. We've seen some familial sex trafficking as well as some encounters around town that it is very present in our community. So
one of the things you mentioned that I'd like to get a little more into is the kids in the family. How does being raised in a household with domestic violence, be it physical, emotional, or otherwise, impact those kids?
It's a huge impact on the kids, and there's a statistic out there, I can't remember what it is, but kids who watch domestic violence but never have been abused are, I want to say it's like 10 times more likely to become abusers as adults.
Wow.
And so it does impact the kids. They think they grow up and that's their normal, that's their culture.
They tend to mirror their parents' actions.
And so we try to encourage them to, when they do come in and say, you have to stop and look at this. Is that what you want your son or daughter to be raised to do? And do you want your son or daughter to grow up and either be in an abusive situation or become an abuser? So it's hard to look at, but we get a lot of results with that as far as parents go, because they have to stop and look and they're like, I don't want my kids to go through this. Yeah. So.
And too often the victim tries to interject themselves between the perpetrator and the child, thinking they're protecting, but while they may be from the physical abuse, they're still not doing it from the emotional environment they're being raised in.
Well, and the kids are walking on eggshells too. We get kids all the time that come in there and they're panicked. They make a noise and they stop and they just look at you like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm not gonna do anything. You're fine. It's okay. Stuff like that happens.
You're a kid. You're supposed to.
Yeah, you're supposed to. Stuff like that happens, and we even get victims that come. We had one that came in and in the house, we have the house where all the residents stay and whatever, and then we have kind of an admin side, and when they need something, they come and knock on the door. And I opened the door one time, and there's one of the ladies standing out there, and I was like, why didn't you knock? And she's like, I'm not allowed to knock. And I was like, here, you're allowed to knock whenever you want to, but she was scared to knock on the door. Oh, wow. So, it's kids and adults alike are still reacting whether they're with the abuser or not.
One of the nice things I have found with ChangePoint joining the Safe House is now that there's a entity there to help them emotionally through counseling get beyond, to learn that you can knock, to learn that you're not a bad person, that you have self-value. Do you have counseling that goes on in the center, or do they do it individually, group?
They can choose. We do have groups that we discuss all kinds of issues, and some self-help, some some of them need basics of cooking and cleaning, and we do groups on domestic violence to show them, the whys and the hows it's happening, because a lot of people come in and they just have no idea they got, I was a prom queen, I was a great athlete, I was this, I don't know how I ended up in this situation. And so going back from the start and showing them that timeline of how, how that starts and how you're kind of wooed into it and then it's kind of taken slowly away, it's good for them to see.
But also they need to learn to rebuild the ability to trust, which has just been shattered.
Yeah.
Does your program or ChangePoint assist in that area too at some point?
Yeah, so they have the option. One of the rules of domestic violence is we don't force you to do anything when you come into the shelter, because if you come in and I say you have to go do this and you have to go do this, I have now become that same person controlling everything of their aspect, and that's what they're used to. And so we give them the resources, and so ChangePoint offers counseling, and they have some support groups and some domestic violence groups that they can attend if they choose, and And so we partner with them as well as other counseling agencies to just make sure that if you don't want to go to Change Point, you can go someplace else, but it's important that you get help.
How often are the, how do you have, how often are there success stories? I mean, because you have a lot of people come in and they go through the different processes and groups and counseling and whatnot. What is the success on the backside?
My success rate, and I learned this from Teresa from Alice's place over in Winslow, is our success rate is 100%. Because we were 100%, we saved them that time. Yep. And we have to look at it that way because there's a lot of victims that go back. There's a lot of victims that, you wonder if you could have done more, you should have done more, but we saved them that time.
I was just sitting here thinking, you got to be a special person, as we know you are, to deal with that and to be able to have the skills and abilities to help folks like that. And it's got to be extremely stressful at times, because I'm sure you probably try to absorb a lot of the issues that you don't have any control over, but you're trying to help. But then probably also extremely rewarding when you see this person that's broken and they've been abused and watch them go through the program and then exit out the other side with a whole new life, and that's got to be just absolutely
it's a great feeling. I have one specifically that she's the one that we had to quarantine with, so we were with her for 5 days and nights, and so we did a lot of activities and groups and stuff with her and had a lot of one-on-one with her, and she's doing really well, and she'll come up and visit us, and she's doing really well, and it does your heart good, because there's not a lot of that goes on when there's a lot that walk out the door and you never see them again and you don't know how they're doing. And
one of the challenges I would imagine being in a small community area is the victim and the perpetrator running into each other in the community. We all seem to shop at Walmart and Safeway.
Yeah.
The odds are you're going to run across. Do you teach them how to help deal with that?
So that's one of the things in the safety planning that we do with them, is to be aware of your surroundings. We like to pretend that we're a confidential location, even though there's a lot of people that know where we are. We have them sign a confidentiality thing, and they're not allowed to have family members or a lot of people come into where the safe house is. But when they go out in the community, you have to be aware of your surroundings. If you're riding the bus and you see something that makes you nervous, go find a phone, keep your phone with you. Call us and let us know when you're going to be back. We have a sign out paper that says, when you're going to be back, and should we be nervous if you don't show back up. And if you do run into them in the community, go, stay in public, stay in in an open place until somebody can come and help you. But it's part of our safety planning.
So how many of the people that you assist that stay out of that relationship move to some new community, be it a fresh start or just to get away from the perpetrator?
We actually have several of ours, and we have, through our VOCA grant, we're able to assist some of them to get back to family members. And so we've flown people, we've bused people different places to get back to where they have more family support or a closer.
And do you partner with the domestic violence program wherever they're going to, so they have a new support group there?
Yes.
Immediately?
Yeah, so we'll talk to them and we'll call ahead to wherever they're going, whatever area they're going to be into. Let them know that there's somebody coming to their area, and then give them the resources so that they can contact them when they get there.
If somebody isn't ready to reach out to you yet, where can they find resources on their own to learn more, to help them evaluate whether in a domestic violence situation, or how to do the planning and go bags and type of stuff? So
there's domesticshelters.org online. There's also the Arizona State Coalition to End Domestic Violence. And it's
more of a mouthful.
That is a mouthful, but it's like ACES, I call it ACES DV, and you can go online and they have all kind of help, and they have a crisis line that you can just call and talk to somebody, to an advocate to help you through stuff, and they have also a lot of information. They also have a website with a a button on it that if you're looking at that website and it's something that you're nervous about, you can push a button on it and it will turn into a news page and it will look like you're just doing normal things. So.
Or they could come to the public library and access it that
absolutely.
way too.
Yeah.
And that way nobody's looking at your browser history.
We have a lot of people that aren't allowed out though, so that's, if you can do it from home or from your phone, it might be easier. But yeah, the public library is a great place to come to make that happen.
I assume you get a lot of young kids into the shelter. Mm-hmm. What do you do with them? I assume that some of these women and men will have jobs. Do you help provide or find daycare, or if they came from Sholo and now they're residing in the Blue Ridge School District, how do you handle educational issues?
So we usually try, with Sholo specifically, if the mother wants to keep them in school, Sholo has a program where they can still bus the kids from the shelter. Mm. If they don't want them in the same school, we encourage them to get them enrolled in school as quick as possible, just to not mess up the kids' education. And as far as daycare goes, we do like them to get the kids in daycare. Once they're in shelter, they automatically qualify for daycare through DES. And so we try to help them get in there so that the mom does have an opportunity to go out and look for a job if that's something that she wants to do. Or and a lot of moms are real nervous about leaving their kids in daycare, especially now with COVID and stuff too. They don't want to put their kids in a situation. But we encourage them to try to put their kids in daycare, and so they have that free time too to go look for a job or find some housing or whatever.
I imagine many of your clients are also concerned about their kids at school and the perpetrator maybe going to the school and get them. Mm-hmm. Is there communication you let the school know about or what's going on to help maybe keep the kids away from the perpetrator? Yeah,
so normally we would do some sort of like emergency parental I can't remember what it's called right now off my top of my head, but
order of protection.
Order of protection or
restraining order.
Yeah. And so once that's in place, we always talk to the school and let the school know that this is the situation, and that if the dad shows up, he's not allowed to take the kids, or the mom shows up, but she's not allowed to have the kids. I keep saying dad, but it's a they situation, they, them. So that they're not allowed to pick the kids up, and if in the event that it does happen, that they need to call the police immediately. Several schools have been really good about it. We haven't had any issues with any of the schools.
Right, so it's something you can put your client's mind at mm-hmm. ease about that concern when the kids are out of their sight and sound from them.
Yeah.
I know pre-COVID that the Safe House used to have a big annual banquet. Are you guys going to try to bring that back?
We are going to try to bring that back. It's on March 12th, and we will be bringing it back on a smaller scale, and it'll be held at the Sholo Elks Lodge this year. But it will be the same event, just on a little bit smaller.
Is there any theme to it? I know long ago it used to have a theme. It was a Scottish theme. Has it changed?
It has changed away from the Scottish theme because I guess the person it was named after was an abuser, so they changed it.
One, you don't want to see Brad or I in a kilt.
I actually do think that would be nice. So you guys need to, But no, I don't know if there's a theme yet. We haven't discussed that part. We just, last meeting, they discussed that where it would be and had that worked out. So.
In past years, you've had silent auctions and live auctions and things of that nature. If people have new items to give for an auction item, who would they contact?
They can contact myself at the Safe House. You could contact Rob Turnwall. He's our board president, and also Anna Banks would be a good start. But I could name off you could also get Adria Costa from.
And we'll make sure we'll include that information at the end of our show for those contacts. How much will tickets be for the banquet?
Normally we sell a table or the ticket. I believe the tickets are normally $50 a plate. Or if you want to sponsor a table, and that's 10 tickets, it's $600, and you get a banner for your business. And then I believe we'll have the live auction, the dessert auction, the silent auction, and we have a balloon auction also.
Explain what a balloon auction is.
So the balloon auction, you come in and the prize that you get is between like $25 and $50. And we have all the balloons filled up with numbers inside. And you pop your balloon when you get there. We sell them for $20 a piece. And then whatever number it is coincides with whatever prize you get.
So you make money regardless.
We make money. So people donate the gift card. It's usually like gift cards or services, like a haircut or something like that.
I don't.
You don't need those. So
you need the shave. So it's just a razor blade.
Maybe we'll get some razors donated this year. See if you can. But so yeah, it's usually like gift cards for the restaurants, local restaurants, and.
And when will tickets go on sale?
We'll probably start doing that probably after Christmas, right after Christmas.
Okay, first part of the year.
Yeah, and then
because March will be here before we
I know.
realize it.
It's we usually start I think around January to start things going on that. But during Christmas, I'm not sure if I'm not positive on it, but last Christmas, Buffalo Bill's Wild Wings or whatever that is.
Oh yeah.
I always butcher the name.
Out
I'm
there
sorry.
on Porter Mountain Road.
Yes, but no. The one that's over here on
the golf course.
Yeah, by the golf course.
Okay.
Gary Martinson has been great he donates $50 gift cards. We pay half of them and the other half goes to straight to the safe house. So we pay $25 a card and he gives us the other 25 and so we sell those around right after Thanksgiving. And we sell them up until Christmas, and they make really great gifts for.
And we'll put up a number for that too, so people
Perfect.
can figure out how to buy those.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our time has flown by again.
Wow.
So Becky, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Becky.
And thank you for joining us this month for Shooting Straight with Brad and David. And stay tuned for this month's Most Wanted.
Vernon Wayne Finley has a valid and confirmed felony warrant for failure to appear on the original charge of possession of dangerous drugs. Vernon's last known address was Lakeside, Arizona. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of Vernon is asked to call Navajo County Communication Center at 928-524-4050. Or to remain anonymous, please call WeTip at 1-800-78-CRIME.